Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call to order the board meeting for the Knox County Juvenile Service Center. Our board of directors meeting here on January 13th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Miles?
Present.
Commissioner Jackson?
Here.
Commissioner Hill? Here. Commissioner Lee? Here. Commissioner Jay?
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First item, any amendments to today's agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Hill. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Is there anybody here from the public who wishes to address the board? I have no sign-ups in advance. Okay, thank you very much. We'll now turn it to Megan Lively, Administrative Manager, and she will walk through 3 different reports that are in her packet. If you would just identify yourself for the record.
Hello, Megan Lively. So on the packets that I gave out, the first one is the graphs. These are the numbers that are processed intakes and releases throughout the last 4 years. As you can see, we switched over to a new system in 2023, and so it only captured partial of that way for the DCS and out of county, but it is pretty much stable of the intakes and release. So when we're getting our daily numbers to people that ask for them, when you see them that, we only have 10, 15, that number is lower than what we've been used to having. However, what we're processing is still quite comparable to the.
What do you mean processing? Because juveniles may come through here, be processed, and not stay here as
Long term.
Okay.
Yes, so if they come in for a few hours, 6 hours, those numbers aren't really they're getting reported, but when people call and say, how many do you have in there right now? I'm giving that number right then versus how many we're actually processing, intaking, and processing through.
So that for so for December 2025, that 53 is how many were processed. Doesn't mean they were in custody, right?
They were in custody in there, but then they were either released through like a bond or released through, they were still in our custody.
Okay.
These are all people that were in custody.
Okay.
It is just that when I get the number at 9 a.m. every day, some of those numbers aren't still there.
So what's the 4 and 4 mean?
Those are, the orange bars are Department of Children's Services juveniles, and the other ones are other counties.
So blue
Blue
is
is
Knox
Knox
County.
blue is not.
Right here at the top.
Here.
Right here.
Oh, there's
So
my
it's
bad.
53, that could be any, that's the total number of youth that came through during the month.
So
No, during the whole month.
during the whole
During
month,
the-
yes, yeah.
During the whole month, so that also includes any that are still from November, that are still in there. So
That were like released. This is called an exit report, so it's when we do the paperwork to process them out of the facility that their number gets counted. So
So
then
it's
you
not
get
heads and beds specific,
yes.
it's total number that have been coming through here. And I asked for this report because I wanted to do a snapshot of, in a facility that has 125 sleeping capacity, we talked about what is our census, and this was some information that was asked by this board from months ago. And we wanted to just sort of show, total number of Knox County juveniles that have come through the system here, and total amount that have come through that are related to DCS holds and other counties we contracted. So the actual number that slept overnight will be much smaller, but it still shows that we've only ever, processed through a certain amount every month. So it's just, there's no action to be taken on this. I just asked for it as sort of help us understand how many juveniles were served.
But theoretically, if somebody were checked in on November 15th, they're still there today, they would not show up.
Their number's not on there. This is
Because
exits
it's
out.
Exits out.
This is exit only. And so, but instead of giving that number of, we've got 12 in there right now or whatever, this is showing how many we're kind of processing throughout the day. That number has not decreased in the time that we're lowering our daily whole numbers there. The next, big packet in there, and jump to the last part of the packet, is the CTAS report on every single one of them. I highlighted the ones that are the 12 new. In that 12, that makes us up to 70 corrected and 25 are still in progress. We are at a close point of the ones
Is
that
that
are
the ones with the red circles on?
Those are new since our last.
new since last update,
Last
yes.
report. And that represents 73.7% completed. So remember, we got the CTAS report in October. We didn't really digest it until almost the beginning of November, and the team here has actively accomplished 73.7% of all recommendations today, which I think is remarkable in just a few months.
And a lot of the things that we're waiting to complete on now are budgetary items that we're either waiting for the new year to come through with the budget in July, or we've requested money from the governor, so waiting on that money as well. Of the 12, just of note, we did the written and implementation of the medical protocols, and Ashley Ellis with the health department really helped a lot with Corey and Destiny and Brad and all of those. We got the old records that were in the pink pod down there all cleaned out. Those are all destroyed now. Those were all taken care of. We're working on finishing cleaning up that housing unit. We've had the talks with PDA to make sure that our capital budgets are in alignment for next year of the things that need to be replaced and repaired. Job descriptions and post orders have been updated, and this administration team has done a phenomenal job making sure that they understand their new job descriptions and post orders, and we've got more training in the works over the next couple weeks to dive in on the new updated policies and procedures for our facility. That was finalized on the 9th. It is in print right now. The health department is helping us out with that and getting it all binded together for us, and we'll have that as of Friday. Training starts Monday morning to update everybody on that. Part of the other 12 that were in there, they wanted us to eat in the dining hall. That's where most of our meals are held. And then also a big thank you to the health department, because they helped us with our menu and getting it approved, and the calories on there. The CTAS report wanted us to make sure that we were documenting. One of the other things that the CTAS report asked is that we work diligently on changing the culture, and we are trying very hard to do that. In the facility report that is also in that packet, it shows that we have 4 held positions, which those are the 4 of the buyouts.
This is
That's
outlined on
this,
this.
yes, back to that page. And then we have 3 open from retirees that we cannot hire until the dates are on there. It's May and April and late March. We also have another one retiring at the end of this month, and 4 more on leave, which creates 11 positions that are just tied up for us. And that's causing quite a bit of overtime, and because we're having to cover holidays and vacation, sick leave, all of those things. So 11 of our positions not being filled completely kind of holds that. We do have 6 qualified applicants that are waiting for an open position, but we're just in limbo on that. We have the part-time LPN position posted. We have 1 applicant. We scheduled her interview and then she canceled it. So we are really trying on that end. We're at a really critical spot for needing medical staff though. So we do want to thank Finance and Stephanie, as we got an email late last night that in our facility operations side of things, which is our kitchen and laundry, they have created us a kitchen manager position. So that's going to rework that the way those flow, and that is got an opening that's going to be posted soon for that. And then, as I said earlier, we finalized our policy and procedure manual. That was a huge undertaking by those 3, and
that didn't exist before, correct?
the last edit we found was 1999, which was not close to what our standards needed to be, so
we're
created
basically
from
starting
scratch.
from scratch.
Mhm.
Right, good to know.
And we're still awaiting approval funding for the security cameras and awaiting the Cure Brown DCS license approval.
A couple of the bottom facility projects at the bottom too, you've worked on some additional security and some lighting as well, so. Are there questions on any of these three documents for our operations team? Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great progress. Okay, item number 6 on our agenda is the back to the future modeling discussion that we have continued to have over the last few board meetings. If you guys, just as a quick recap, remember in our previous board meetings, we looked at a map of the entire state of how you all receive this information, where we looked at all the different models across the state. We looked at the pros and cons of those, the law enforcement model, the juvenile court judge model, local government operated facilities model, the private contractor one, where we outsource, and then some of the other supporting staff. We went through the pros and cons of each of those, and then I pledged to you that at the end of the last board meeting that I would contact a couple of similar facilities or similar counties to sort of talk about what those models were. I did have the opportunity to talk to Hamilton County Judge Rob Filiaw, and also the judicial team with Judge Sharon Guffey in Williamson County to talk about the juvenile court model specifically. And as I sent out to you all this morning, I'm going to pass this around. I am bringing to this board a proposal. Sorry, I'll keep going with this. I am bringing to this board a proposal to put us on a path forward. So we have been under the ordinance that we passed last year that said that this juvenile detention center would be transitioned under the sheriff beginning originally it was January 1st, and then we extended that deadline to June 1st. I am proposing now that we do not go in that direction based upon the research, the feedback from you all, conversations with Judge Irwin, conversations with Dwight Van Veit and the mayor and our executive team, and that we shift to putting this under a juvenile court judge model. A couple of reasons that are driving that proposal. First off, it's feedback from other counties. When I spoke to the judges and the judicial teams, they all reinforced that that they didn't feel that when they looked at different models and had different options, they didn't feel that being under the sheriff's office in their counties were the right path for the mission of the organization, for the children and juveniles that we care for, and that they felt like going that path would essentially create another jail, which is not the primary purpose for what we're trying to accomplish back here. They walk through their operational model, they walk through their work charts, the pluses and minuses, the pros and the cons. We have really good conversations about sort of what are the challenges. Some of the same challenges that we're having today, they have continued to have, which include staffing, because not everybody wants to do this job. And then just staying upright with policies and procedures from the state, but also sat down with Judge Irwin, and so this is what I'm proposing to this board today, is to move this from the executive branch where it lives now and change the ordinance to not go to the sheriff's office, but go to a judicial model under the juvenile court judge. The facility and the operations would be placed under the control and supervision of the juvenile court judge. Currently that is Judge Irwin, but again, we're setting this up for the next 20 years of success. And the administrative team that currently runs all of the judicial courts is the closest to the operations, is closest to the mission, and to do that beginning on April 1st. We also talked about another reason to move in this direction is we have 4 or 5, depending on what it is, judicial or sheriff candidates, none of which have expressed either much interest or really have had a lot of hesitation in determining did they want to take it on? And so I would hate to move to that model with the current sheriff, as willing as he has been, and then 3 to 5 months later start all over. And so I think this is the best path for long-term stability. If it came out of this board on approval, new county ordinance would be drafted by our Knox County Law Department and presented to our commission in February. Of course, that needs 2 readings to be approved, so that would be February and March. And the ordinance would include such things, but not limited to. I want to make sure the law department has an opportunity to really dig into it. Essentially granting the juvenile court judge and his team the authority to manage all the staffing decisions, of course, in consultation with Knox County HR. Enter into juvenile custody contracts with both DCS and other East Tennessee counties for those that we house. The fiscal year 26 budget that we are currently in would be transferred over to them on that effective date. That's an internal billing and finance. We've talked to Chris Caldwell and his team. That shouldn't be an issue. And then the executive team, Mayor Jacobs, Dwight Vanderway, would at the same time as it goes to commission present a memo basically outlining the support for the operations that would come from Knox County. Those are things like finance, IT, HR, the PBA, legal, all the things we're doing now, but it would kind of codify that they are behind the transition. Oversight ultimately always stays with the state, and the compliance of the juvenile detention facility would be with the State of Tennessee Children's Services and the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, which does all the auditing and the licensing. And then in order to make sure there was adequate oversight, public engagement, and continued sort of transparency of how this is done, I've proposed creating a advisory board for a period of 9 years. And there's a reason for that 9 years. One, I think it would overlay any long-term transitions between our current judge and a future judge. It would also be for any board members, it would be some succession and some tiered, because the board would have 3-year terms renewable once, so it would basically be a first board and it would go into a transition of a second board. And then if they wanted to continue that beyond 9 years, I felt like if we could stabilize it, put it on a good footing, and 9 years of oversight, and it would be on a good path. If they wanted to extend that board, great, but I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a success runway, if you will. The board I'm proposing to you all for discussion today being made up of 5 members. First, somebody that has an expertise in mental health, juvenile mental health, somebody who has expertise in juvenile social services, somebody who has experience in juvenile legal system and legal processes, an ordinary citizen of Knox County, it could be anybody of any skill set, and then one Knox County commissioner. That would continue to bring, at least have one person from our legislative body to have a seat at the table, and it would give them an opportunity to continue to have the necessary oversight and working with the juvenile judge. Those board members, at least 4 out of the 5, obviously not the commissioner, would be appointed by the juvenile court judge. But we, before we finished our work, would give recommendations. So I think it's important for our work in the next couple of months, if this were to proceed. We've all been contacted by people in the legal system, people in social services, people out in mental health, to sort of bring a set of resumes to the judge and to the table to say, here's people that I think would be really good for the board. So it gives us some input as we exit our job. And then we would have governance documents. And then the last part that I think is super important is that those meetings would be quarterly, beginning in July, and they would be publicly noticed and open to the public. I think it's very important that this board has met since July in the public. We've noticed it, we've brought people in, given everybody an opportunity to see the transparency of our work, and I think that should continue for the success runway. So I put all that on the table, and I'm here open for discussion. Yes?
I have a problem. I think procedurally it's not lawful or appropriate to take that vote today because we haven't had notice. We've had a few hours to look this over, and also the state of Tennessee did a draft report in December 2025 on juvenile detention facilities, and I think it's important we look at that final report before we make these decisions.
Okay. this has been noticed, I would say that, this has been noticed, it has been talked about. and
It's
we
been
have-
talked about, but we didn't, I mean, at our last meeting, you said, okay, we're taking the private company off.
Yeah.
But that was the end of the discussion.
Right,
So
well-
we,
We've continued to say though,
Yeah.
we're trying to find a path forward.
okay.
And so,
But there's been a report done by the state of Tennessee on juvenile detention centers that's not been finalized yet. And I think it's important that we see that finalized report before we jump the gun.
I can respect that, but I also, I can't, it's very hard for me to sit and wait for the state to finish something before we take action on what we think is best for Knox County. So I'm gonna respectfully disagree in the sense of we've got to lead to a point where I think it's the best success for this facility as a whole. And given our timeline for transition to a sheriff and budget season coming up, I think the time to act is now. I also think we would have 2 months. This is simply a recommendation to commission. It's not a final vote, and we would have a full 60 days to debate this in commission. And that would give us plenty of time to, if we found something in the report, if we thought there was some other reason, if the law department didn't feel like it, something matched, we would still have time in the commission meeting. So I guess I'm encouraging to have a vote today to come out of this board so that we can start that process versus delay further. I think 60 more days would continue to give us more time.
I've got a question about
Yes.
this. I think, or I guess the question is, do we need to create bylaws for this new advisory board?
I think we would continue I think the answer is yes. If we proceeded with this timeline, we still have upcoming board meetings in March.
Yeah. We got like 4.
Well, we have March and we have April. We could, if it proceeded on this timeline, technically our work would be done as soon as it transitions to the judge. But I think we could bring that to the next meeting. I think we could create our bylaws for the future board. That's a pretty easy template to look at other boards and committees, and I'm sure we could do it. Wouldn't be a heavy lift. Commissioner Hill?
I would state in answer to Mr. Lee that the idea of it going to juvenile court is not a new one. This board has actually talked about several models and what might or might not work, which is not at any point put it to a vote. And in order to be totally open with this, I mean, Mr. Chair, is it procedurally appropriate for a motion to be made to delay the vote?
Well, I wanted to.
Vote on that first?
I think, I guess, I'm kind of opening up discussion. I'd also want to let the judge weigh in here before we kind of dig into that.
I appreciate that, okay.
I'd like to hear
this
from
day
Judge
one,
Irwin, do you
personally.
want to weigh in on this proposal?
Can hear from both Judge Irwin and Mr. Van Dyke.
Sure.
You want to go first?
If you would just identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David, the Mayor's Office. Appreciate the discussion. Since we became involved with this process in May of this year, this is the most enthusiastic I have been about the directions for this facility. There are so many ambiguities with the other path forward, particularly with, Commissioners, I think there are 4 candidates for sheriff currently, maybe 5. We have absolutely no idea what the temperature will be come September 1st, and the new incumbent takes office. Likewise, there are 3 candidates for mayor and have no sense of what their inclination might be. I would simply say, as a member of the executive branch, we don't see this and have never seen it as an executive branch function. The mayor felt called upon to step in, and he did so. We're proud of him for that. Ultimately, this needs to live somewhere else. So the mayor is wholeheartedly supportive. It shouldn't be lost in this discussion too that when we always try to center us back up on the kids. the kids in this facility, the vast majority, on any given day, we have 14, 15, 16 kids. We may have 2 from DCS and 2 out-of-county kids and 11 Knox County kids. All 11 of those Knox County kids are held here on the authority that's in our The mayor has no authority to detain delinquent youth in Knox County. Commission has no authority. That authority rests with the court. And court's understanding of juvenile justice, juvenile process, rules, regulations, and what is in the best interest of the kids, because anytime Judge Irwin speaks on this subject, he will always circle back around to what is in the best interest of the kids. And we firmly believe that this proposal is in the best interest of the kids. So I don't know, Commissioner Rawls, if that addresses your question.
Yeah. That's all. I wanted to hear the administration's opinion. So.
We're 110% behind it.
Judge Irvin?
Just a couple of things. I think everybody's aware, no one's beating down the door and saying, let me come in and run the Knox County Juvenile Detention Center. The candidates that I'm aware of have said, no, don't think so, no. I embrace being able to run it. I'm very proud of what's going on back there. Let me give you an example. I have a serious case in my courtroom this morning. One of the lawyers stands up and says, Judge, I've never been treated so graciously. Your visitation was excellent. I had to meet with my client all week to get this deal done. He said, it's never been like that before. And that was music to my ears. I know the children are safe right now under the current regime. I know that we're going to get our personnel issues worked out and we can take more kids. We can alleviate some of the overcrowding in the state when we do that, I hope. I hope we never fill it full of Knox County kids. That would be my goal. I'm very proud of the low numbers that we have. But I look forward to working with these men and women. And I have a couple of caveats. I want to know, when's my date? When's my start date to take it over? I want to know that. And number 2, I want some insurance. I think that's fair. I have a little bit now. I need some more before I take this on. I don't want to put my family's means at risk if a mistake was made, because I will get sued. And everybody knows that. And I think my protection as a judge doesn't extend to being the manager of a detention facility. So I would need some insurance, but I would wholeheartedly take it on. Be very proud to work for these kids before their sentence and after their sentence, or while they're housed back there. I'd be very proud to work for them. It's a one kid at a time business here. And I think the folks that are back there right now understand that. And I think the changes that have been made are good ones. It's been very positive. Miss Lindsay's over there every day. She has spoken about what she thinks. We'll take a good look at the budget, try to help with that process, and get what we need. We got a few more personnel glitches to work out, but we're getting there, getting close. And when we get that up and running, I think we'll have a facility that Knox County can be proud of. I think facilities there now, I think we'll have the people back there and the techniques back there that our detention center will be. And I would certainly recommend talking to Judge Filial and talking to Judge Guffey. They're 2 of my colleagues I respect very much. And if they can run the jail and they're doing a good job, I think we can here too.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioner Jackson, I think did you have a question?
Several.
Okay.
But, I don't disagree with Commissioner Lee that, we have this report, but, I'm not sure exactly whether this report from the state is going to make any impact on what this decision should be. I think that we all got in this hoping that this would be about a 12-month commitment for us, and it looks like this provides us at least a start of a roadmap. And, I really appreciate Judge Irwin, taking this on and this because this is going to be a lot of work. I did write down a few questions here. So on the advisory board, I mean, it looks to me as though some of these details we can work out over time, but the way it's written, it says the period is 9 years and it can be extended by a vote of advisory board and agreement by juvenile judge, which sounds like if one or the other disagrees or doesn't want to continue, that is essentially a veto.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I think what I was gonna ask is I was gonna ask the Knox County Law Department, kind of what could we do? There's certain things in an ordinance that the legislative body can dictate to the judicial branch, but there are some things that you can't tell a judge what to do and what not to do. So that was one I figured, while the law department iron this out in an actual ordinance, they can help us iron out a little bit. I think that's something we can figure out.
I think a more important question is, anytime you have an advisory board, I want to make sure that they provide value. And, you provide value when you're given some level of authority at least. So the two things that I'd like to know is, what is the value that these people will provide, or is it just is it on an ad hoc, we meet whenever we want to meet? How do we, as a commission, continue oversight?
Well, I think that's a fair point. First and foremost, I put in there that it would be quarterly meetings that, just like we're meeting here today, that would be open to the public and noticed. It would have a county commissioner designee on the board, throughout. So that would remain tied to, the legislative work we've done. And then I do think having that schedule and having the, regularly scheduled open meetings like this is a perfect opportunity for both the judge and the team to come in to that board and say, here's our quarterly report. Here's things that, we're continuing to improve on. Here's things we're running into issues. And I think it's open for debate here of, are these the right three people in their expertise? But I thought, given that we've continued to talk since day one about the need for mental health support, social services, and we certainly want the legal side to make sure things are safe and secure and being done properly with oversight. Those were kind of the three expertise positions I felt like would continue to bring value. We would want somebody with legal expertise to make sure that we stayed in compliance and we were doing all the audits and we were, this team would have to report to this board. And I think that's where you get merit and teeth and oversight long term.
Well, just thinking ahead, let's say the next judge comes in and this advisory board believes and they vote that we're headed in the wrong direction and the future judge is not providing oversight. What teeth are we providing any teeth to the advisory board to report back to commission? Well,
the commissioner would be the report back to the commission. And then if I'm correct, Mr. Van Uyt, I believe that we are setting up an ordinance to transition this, that ultimately the county commission could by ordinance change that to a different path. So if over this runway of time, let's say after 9 years, it wasn't going well and there was a new judge here one day and it was all going the wrong direction, we could by ordinance say, okay, we're ready to move to a sheriff model or an outsource model. Is that accurate?
That's my understanding as well, Commissioner Jay. And likewise, there's another possibility that a juvenile judge is elected in 4 years that says this is outside my lane. I believe I should be on the judicial side and not the custodial side, and somebody else should handle that. So, the possibilities are open, but at the end of the day, I think the authority rests with the commission.
So a future judge could say, sort of like what we discussed with the sheriff, he could say, well, I don't want this.
Yes, sir, correct. You can't obligate somebody.
Is that state law or is that by county charter?
It's by state law, as I understand it. Remember that we are not actually required by state law to operate a facility of this nature. That's addressed in the CCAS report. I can't remember what page number, but we are not actually required by law to operate a facility like this, and there are many counties that don't. Now, obviously, we're the third largest and most populous county in the state of Tennessee. It would make zero sense for us not to operate a facility. We're the East Tennessee regional leader, then this is space we should occupy. But in the strictest sense of state law, we're not obligated to operate a facility like this.
But.
So your ultimate backstop is commission. If at any point things were not going well here, commission could change the
But I
whole
think this
structure.
is much better than the sheriff, because the sheriff is just totally separate from this. Whereas juvenile detention, the juvenile court system, this makes sense.
This is in the same house versus a completely different house.
And who picks the advisory board?
We would present, before we finished our work, this current board, we would bring recommendations to Judge Irwin of people that are in these categories. And then, but ultimately Judge Irwin and his team would make that choice. Again, they're closest to the mission. And I think that it's good for us because we've all been contacted by people to bring, here's some great candidates, but ultimately they would pick 4 out of the 5. The 5th one would be a county commissioner, and that county commissioner would be picked by our body through a regular nomination process.
And this is fairly minor, but I would recommend that commissioner be a 1-year appointment or maybe 2-year, because a 3-year, obviously we're 4-year seats, so you're gonna have a lot of issues with, potentially an odd years.
Okay, so probably a 2-year makes sense on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess too, Commissioner, we could write teeth into the bylaws and value of what they, what they actually have the ability to do. So,
Yeah, I do hear what you're saying about. Advisory boards are good things, but if they're strictly, if they have no authority, then it makes it tough for, in this case, for the detention facility to really implement what
But I
the
do
board
think-
might think or not. I mean, that's very crude, but
I do think that the ultimate escape hatch for any of this and oversight, besides, remember, Tennessee Department of Children's Services is gonna have the ultimate authority. But that's why I really put that Knox County Commissioner on there. Let's say a year's time, judge isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, staff's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That legislative representative has the ability to go back to commission at any point and say, this was wrong and we need to change this completely and let's do a brand new ordinance. And so they really are the last stop of, let's really make sure there's oversight, but you always have an escape hatch.
Well, I can say one thing for certain, in 9 years, none of us are sitting on the commission.
Correct.
So I was trying to think ahead.
Yeah.
Let's think ahead in 9 years. Let's say that they dissolve the oversight board. And how do we prevent, how do we as a board now today prevent, another situation where there was where there's future lack of oversight?
Well, one thing we could do is, today, we could take the 9 years off and just create an advisory board that has 3-year terms and not have a sunset on it. That's one option that we can decide.
What was the point of the sunset?
Just at some point, if you had we hope that Judge Irwin will be here forever and ever and ever, but I don't imagine that will be the case. So let's say the next judge came in, juvenile court judge, and let's say everything was running well, is it needed? And that's a discussion for today. If we do feel like, given the history of the last 40 years and what led up to our work here today, that we feel like we ought to continue it, then let's just take the sunset off of that and just create an advisory board. Again, you'll always have a way to change it. The board or the commission can change it.
We can vote on it anytime.
Okay, so are you guys comfortable in removing that sunset of 9 years?
9 years?
Just creating a board? Okay,
I might also,
so I'll take that whole provision off. It'll just end starting on July 1st. I also started that on, sorry, Commissioner, I started that on July 1st, given that April 1st would be the transition period. Let's give Judge Irwin and his team a few months to be ready for that first board versus starting it the month after and they, give a little bit of breathing room.
I do like the emphasis on juvenile in all the services. The legal system, laws are a little different. They are not the same for juveniles, and even handling mental health and social services, especially if the custodian is the state, sometimes presents a different set of challenges. Just looking at not allowing history to repeat itself. I'm wondering if it's wise that these 4 of these 5 positions actually be the ultimate decision of whoever the juvenile court judge might be. Again, looking at past history, it would be awfully easy, or not easy, but it would be possible for, we don't have somebody as good as Judge Irwin now, but maybe another judge gets in and he is changing things or not operating in a way that might be truly what would be in the best interest for the kids. If this gives the judge the potential to control the board with 4 out of 5 appointments.
So who would appoint the board? Commission?
Well, I do certainly think that there is a role that the juvenile court judge should have an appointment. You know, just throwing some things out there, like in the legal system, perhaps the Knoxville Bar could make an appointment. I'm just saying, our own mental health association in Knox County, perhaps they could make the mental health appointment. Just looking at some ways to get some other people that aren't beholden to whoever the judge is at the time, because they were the ones appointed. Although in the end, if this continues to be just an advisory board, I'm not sure how relevant that would be, but again,
Well, that's
just
a fair
looking at
point.
past history, not wanting it to be controlled.
But you could have a second mayor, which would get the executive branch a little bit of oversight as well.
Add the mayor to the board? Is that what you're saying?
No. The mayor would just be the appointer.
Or you could require the appointees to be approved by someone.
Well, you could have the judge select from our pool and then confirmed by the mayor or confirmed by commission. Like they would have, we do that, we've done that with some other ones. Like, the mayor has to sort of spread a record his appointments to us. That'd be okay with you?
So you're gonna make political appointees determine juvenile court? That kind of,
No, I think it would be, we would recommend, but the judge would appoint these board members, but it would be to be confirmed by commission. So let's say the judge, appointed 3 co-wackadoodles and it came to commission and we looked at it and we went, no way, this is a bad idea. We could reject those,
the commission.
the commission.
Okay, so, if Judge Irwin's gonna be here forever, I'd be totally in support of this. I don't think he's gonna be here forever. And like, Commissioner Hill was saying, no one knows who the next judge will be. And if there's not any oversight to their appointees, then we could be in the same position that we were previously.
So would that rest, confirmed by commission or confirmed by mayor? Does one of these make sense to figure out? I understand where we're.
I think there's several ways to skin the cat. I do like Commissioner Jackson's, and again, let me say for the caveat that the mayor has 7 months and 3 weeks left, so this is not expressing an interest on behalf of our office, but on behalf of the office. It does make sense to me to have an executive branch appointee, and as typically is the case for some of ours, those have to be approved by commission. Likewise, a model where Judge Irwin places his nominees on the agenda and ratified by commission might make sense. And I don't think it makes an unruly process, and I think it guards against Commissioner Lee's concern about politicizing the board. Particularly if the board's structured where you've got these, you are looking for a specialist in juvenile or youth mental health, right? And that's something you guys are gonna have to come and credential themselves to the appointing authority and then subsequently the commission.
So this would
so I
be.
think there's some guardrails in place.
I like that. So this would be, we could bring a laundry list of people before we finish our work. Juvenile court judge would pick people, but it would be confirmed by the commission as another check and balance.
And again, we're not averse to seeing an executive branch appointee as well. Assuming Judge Irwin's comfortable with that, I don't know who the mayor's gonna be, 4 years or 8 years or 12 years hence, but having, since this is a department that's on our budget and is supported by, as Commissioner Day alluded to earlier, human resources, finance, law department, and so forth, giving whoever is the incumbent mayor an appointment makes sense to me as well. Now, I know that messes up your count a little bit, but
No, it's okay. I think that's fair, given that the executive branch is doing so much to support the thing, that makes sense. And again, an advisory board, 5 members, 6 members, it doesn't matter. The goal is to bring more people to the table.
and everybody would also always have, and I would think you would want your board to be trained to this effect, your ultimate appellate process, anytime you are concerned about the treatment of children in the facility, is always going to be Department of Children's Services and Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth. So at the end of the day, those statewide eyes should always be watching.
But if I can bring one point to that, DCS was aware that this facility did not pass and they couldn't take any action.
And the commission never knew about it.
Fair enough.
Well, we can't fix all the state issues in this
So
board
relying
meeting.
on DCS is.
I know. It's, we
However, if we
go
write into the bylaws that the chair of this advisory board needs to report to the commission once a year on the status of the juvenile detention center, you know. Or something, and just put it on the schedule of, you know, hey, on July 1st or July of every year, they have to make a report, so.
I think we can do that in the bylaws document, so I
Yeah,
think that's
I don't
still
think-
work we can do. I like that though, 1 time a year.
That could be the role of the
It
commission.
could be the role of a county commissioner, because they're coming from the legislative body.
Yeah.
I like that one better. Okay,
And I'm also thinking these appointees do not need to be employees. What? Just
of Knox
board
County,
or Knox County?
I think of
or
Knox County.
Knox County government.
Knox County government, but I also wouldn't want to limit, I wouldn't want to say they need to be Knox County residents, because we may have a great juvenile legal mind in Blount County that needs to be on this board. I think that would bring regional oversight to it, so I don't want to limit that. But again, I think this board at our next meeting could get into those governance documents and sort of fine tune them.
My only question on that is the Department of Health. Why would we want to exclude somebody who's qualified from the Department of Health?
Well, maybe that could be the other 2 positions. We could increase the board from the 5 to 7, adding employees of the mayors and perhaps the public
Health
position.
Department representative. What do you guys think about that?
But then we're gonna eliminate the being a Knox County employee. Is that what you're saying?
No, it would just be a representative from the health department. That would, the restrictions on not being a Knox County employee would come from the other people. We would just say they would have a seat at the table, the Knox County Health Department. Is everybody okay with that?
Is that
Is
necessary?
that the same as
I like
the
the judge's opinion on that.
It's the number one priority of the detention center is safety first and foremost. And that's safety to the public, not allowing anyone to escape, so safety to the children, but then the safety of the kids that unfortunately have to be kept back there. That's how we got here. We got here because of a safety issue. And we need to address that issue. That means the health department, I'm great with that. I think the health department is probably more important than the mental health component that we talked about in the papers. I'm not saying you don't need both. But I think the health department is really important, that we have someone that's looking at our medical care of children, because no one's back there that doesn't need medicine. Ask these guys. Everybody's taking something. And we got to make sure it's administered right, that we're looking for on our routine checklists, that we're looking for signs of complications. And I think that's very important. I welcome their assistance.
By virtue of their position, they would be, probably would be an
Gotta ask them if they'll do it.
Yeah.
That, I think that's very different from these
Yeah,
others.
I think that the restriction of that would be on the other ones, not
Right.
on that one. All right, can I recap this real quick, just to make sure, we're fine tuning it, so, So, and I'm gonna do this in the form of making a motion, because I think that is, I wanna get to this, we can continue to debate as we should. So I would make a motion to propose that this board vote to make a recommendation to commission that the facility and operations be placed under the control and supervision of the juvenile court judge and the administrative team commencing on April 1st, 2026. That county ordinance would be drafted and sent to commission for the February and March 2 readings. Continued debate and research could go in those next 60 days. This would grant the juvenile court judge the authority to manage the staffing decisions and operations and enter into contracts with DCS and other East Tennessee counties. The budget would be transferred to the juvenile court on that effective April 1 date. The executive branch would submit with that ordinance to commission a memo outlining its support from the executive branch. Oversight and compliance would continue to remain with DCS and TCCY. An advisory board will be established starting on July 1. Eligible board members would be a 3-year term renewable once, so we had healthy turnover. It would consist of 7 members. That would be a Knox County executive branch appointee, a Knox County Health Department representative, someone with expertise in juvenile mental health, someone with expertise in juvenile social services, somebody with expertise in juvenile legal system matters, a ordinary citizen of Knox County, and 1 Knox County commissioner that would be under a 2-year rotation, not a 3-year. That again would help healthy turnover. With the exception of the health department representative and the commissioner, no other board member would be an employee of Knox County. And this board would give recommendations to the judge for all of those positions before we finish our work. And then whatever people the judge picks to serve on this board would still be confirmed by commission, which would probably be, I'm gonna say May. We would go on the May agenda for confirmation, or May or June, so they could begin in July. And then we will also, between now and when our work is done, work on the governance documents and bylaws. And those meetings for that board, new board, would be done quarterly and would be publicly noticed and open to the public and then the commissioner's role would be to once a year report to, I think, DCS. But we can work that in the governance documents.
The reporting to DCS or not to the commission?
Maybe both. Once a year, whoever the commission chair would sort of say, hey, state, we're doing good, and commission, things are going well, or we need to look at stuff. So
I think it should be both.
Okay,
because
I'll
the
put both.
commission
I hate
would
to,
know.
hate to bring up another question,
that's okay.
but we have some things happening before May that are very important. The sustainability of the detention, so number 1, budget's due when, Ida?
February.
Yeah.
Well, I think the executive branch has said that they would begin working with you all on that and us on that right away.
So my administrative people will work on the budget just like we were gonna take it over, even though we haven't.
Correct. I think we run parallel tracks here.
Is that April 1st deadline reasonable to you? Take over.
To take over? Yeah.
Okay, so all of that was in a motion to this board to approve as outlined and to go to the law department. Remember, this is just a recommendation to go to the law department and go to commission. So we still have 60 more days to tweak it. So we can change the ordinance for the next 60 days.
So is the motion on the floor?
There's a motion on the floor.
So
Well, I made the motion, so you can second it if you'd like.
oh, that was the.
I made
That
the
was the
motion.
motion.
Repeat it.
Hey, I cannot. Word for word. I cannot. Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Schwab. Additional discussion about this as outlined.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so from what you just stated, we can still tweak it,
Yes,
and it can be tweaked at any time.
even after, so we'll have 60 days to do the ordinance. So I'll send this, if this passes, I'll send this to the law department to put into a proper ordinance that would come before us in February. And just as we always do, we look and we can make amendments to it, and you'll see the text of it, and then we can vote on it on first reading.
Okay.
And then if we miss something, we can still determine, get it through a second reading. And then if we do all of this work and 6 months from now, it all falls apart, we can change the ordinance and go to a whole different model.
So the county commission can always change it, correct?
Yes, correct. County commission can always change it, they're the ultimate authority.
I would explain this, that we are pushing ahead in a car down a hill, and it's starting to roll, and we gotta build the engine. So,
And we can do that.
But we know the direction the car's
we
going.
know the direction.
Yes.
Question is there a wall?
No, so,
No,
it's not.
No more now.
No more now. All right, any further discussion on this motion? We have a motion and a second. And a proposal in front of us. Okay, all those in favor as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. I will take this today and will send it to Director Book and Moyers. We will get it written up. We will get this out to you as fast as possible for review before, so everybody has a chance to really look at it. Well, it won't come out the day before the commission meeting. We're gonna get it on that really quickly. Number 7 on our agenda is new business. Is there any other new business or new information that this board wants to see or wants from the team between now and the next board meeting?
This is, not business per se. Well, it is business per se. I would really like to hear from one of our leaders that's working detention every day, just, some of their thoughts. I want to know if there's anything we need to still be trying to do for you that you see and deal with every single day. I just think a healthy board kind of needs to hear from boots on the ground.
Okay.
So
Do you want to
I'm
do
making
that
that request.
for the next board meeting?
Actually, I wouldn't mind hearing from them right now.
Anybody want to jump up and tell us how it's going back there? If you would come to the podium and identify yourself.
Corey loves public speaking.
Also bludgeoning with the tire iron. It's about the same.
Yeah, no. We touched on getting medical provided to us, put the money together to get an LPN, but it's not cutting it. We would like to do 12-hour shifts and cover us 7 days a week. If we're able to do that, then that leaves us with our medical needs would just be emergency. Kids would be in their cells, it'd be nighttime. So it would be emergency, EMT, we call them out. And if we could do that and accommodate that, that would be a great relief of stress for us. And then our staffing. Like, I know it's probably not feasible, but long-term, I would like to be able to see if somebody resigns or gets fired or terminated, that we could immediately backfill that position. Because that, we can't stay in ratio, especially if we start bringing our population up. We're not gonna be able to keep our ratios up if we lose a staff member. Can't backfill it because we gotta exhaust all their time.
That's the state mandated ratio of how many staff to how many juveniles that
Right.
they have to stay in compliance.
But it's like right now, we have 11 that are tied up.
Yeah.
And even though we have the low numbers, if we have anybody out on vacation or whatever, we're struggling to make sure we're in ratio.
Even when you look at it like that with our population, let's say we're at 15 and we have 3 females in the yellow pod. We have 2 maximum on shift is 2 females. 1 calls off sick, now we're down to 1. 1 gets called up to suicide watch or goes out to medical. We're done, we're out of ratio that quick. So, and it happens all the time. I know it seems like it should be happening all the time, but it happens every day almost. There's something going out by ambulance, and we gotta apply coverage, or somebody's up with B9 and suicide. So, I mean, it seems like we have enough numbers. We have a total of 42 staff members right now. And
Once you break them out over 7 days, 365.
yeah, you're
24
running
hours.
24/7, so it's not a lot. It's not a lot.
And not all those staff members are guards. Some of them are cooks, some of them are one.
And if we could have each shift have a holiday relief or a sick relief officer added to where we're at right now, our numbers. Once we get our numbers full, if we get those 11 vacancies filled, if we could add sick relief or holiday relief or even vacation relief to that, to each shift, we'd be perfect, That's where it gets us is staff get sick. I mean, you can't control.
Yeah.
And staff needs to take vacation, time off their families, unless it happens. And then we're stuck at a point right now with our staff, we gotta hold them to one staff member gets a holiday or a vacation day, and that's it. We can't allow 2 or 3 to take off at the same time because we can't find coverage, so we're working our staff over and over, and then the staff is signing up for overtime to get hit over and over and over again, so.
Well, I know the executive team and the finance team are trying to push as hard as possible to make sure the numbers are there.
It helps probably for finance to hear it from the 5 of you. They've heard it enough for me that I'm not sure I get through.
We can make that.
For those of you on commission, if you could lean into it a little bit and just encourage finance to really try. Because, again, we are spending on the overtime side. So, the answer to overtime is to flush after tax, and we struggle with that.
And just to remind us, we're trying to do everything we have with the budget that's already been approved versus going back to commission. We've not, since it started, we've not gone back to commission and asked for a separate allocation of funding.
And in all fairness to finance, easy to say, in all fairness to finance, the quality of record keeping that resulted in the payouts having to be the maximum allowable because we could not disprove whether or not staff had taken any annual leave or any sick leave, has really, really hammered this budget. It's been very difficult. So I don't want you to think I'm picking on finance.
No.
Like the staff, they were dealt a tough hand.
Well, and it's like those retirees, typically a retiree, now that you pay out their sick payout, but we're battling their 20 years of service, they got every bit of vacation to come back.
I think
that's
our big
why
thing
we're-
as managers is trying to change the culture. You're not changing the culture when you can't bring in fresh staff. There's just, you're stuck. So we could fill this burning. Yeah. And then the new hires we're doing, we're just filling them by overtime.
One more crucial, immediate need, and Miss Lindsay would kill me if I didn't say this, is when we have a child back there where mobile crisis comes in and says, this child's certified, this child needs to go to residential treatment right now for mental health, we have to get them there. They don't, I took one in my truck one time, I did, because we were losing a bed, and I took Miss Lindsay and Dr. Bly with me, and we took a person, we didn't have a transport. Our transport guy retires on the 23rd. We have got to have it. I've been working with Dwight on this, but I want y'all to know about it. Our most immediate need that I know of, we got to have somebody to drive those kids when they say it's time for one to go. That's huge.
We are, we're working to talk to Sheriff Spangler about could we engage the reserve officers. We have reserve officers that, if we have a big flood, they come to the aid. Is there a way that we could contract and work with them so if they did have an immediate transport, we'd have somebody?
That's just one of our
hiring
immediate
another
hurdles.
staffers.
And there'll be things like this along, but maybe it does make sense for me to be the one that has to, because I'll know about it before anybody else. She will know first and she'll tell me. Yes.
Judge, when this becomes your baby, is it possible that some of the juvenile court staffing that you have, would there be maybe someone in that group, I'm just asking, that could perhaps be available for transports? I'm just asking
I don't
about.
have, the transport guy does both sides. He does this side and jail. He's the transport for the whole building.
Thing.
He's retired.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we gotta have another person. But we pay him out of our budget. It doesn't come out of
Oh,
detention.
all right, so it's just a matter of finding.
It's just a matter of finding somebody.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's been advertised and.
Well,
not yet.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Working on it.
Yeah.
And
I got
transport's
you.
complicated
I get what you're saying.
because you've got, the critical thing that Judge Irwin's point is, we can't lose those mental health beds.
No.
So when you get the opportunity to get that child, they have got to go right then.
You see,
If we have a child that's, we have a sick call and we don't have anybody, frankly, we can just call an ambulance. It's not great, so we can get that child, but also, we can't call an ambulance to get a child in Memphis.
so when Charles and Ashley back there from the department, when they get a placement opens up, their people in the placement tell them, we got a bed for you at CERT in Memphis. We gotta get them there or we lose that bed.
So
But we don't ever want to lose a treatment bed because they're like precious gems. There's not enough of them to go around.
So am I hearing somebody say that perhaps when this person retires, that whatever was going to be left over, that money was taken to help fill needs now, so it's
No.
not necessarily sitting
No,
there?
we're just saying we need a solution, so we're looking at the reserve, we're looking at other personnel.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out how to
We're just
stack
bringing
it.
it up, but
So Corey, do I hear you saying if you could just get the restriction lifted off of being able to hire immediately,
To backfill positions, the vacancy,
that would?
that would help a great deal.
That's 7 positions.
and we don't know what the
Sales.
financial note on that is, but I'm sure we can find out.
Our captain told me he's got 6 people ready to go. We just can't hire them yet. That's what you told me this morning.
They'll have,
Commissioner Lee?
I did say that.
My question is, Judge Irvin's gonna take this over April 1st. Is this board disbanded at that time?
No, correct, yes. So we would have 2 upcoming meetings. We would have Tuesday, February 10th and Tuesday, March 17th. Those would be our final 2 meetings of this current board if this ordinance passes. Again, these are parallel tracks running at the same time. I think we would use those 2 board meetings to work on the bylaws and to work to bring recommendations for the board to the table. And that way, we're leaving with a path forward, an ordinance, a set of governance and bylaws, and a whole stack of people that we recommend to the judge, and then that would complete our work.
March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
Well, good. Well, you can all take yourself a pint after this, so there you go.
Just point that out.
We could have
Make sure you work hard.
an April meeting as a joint, just if there's any transitioning needed.
They wouldn't start until July, the new board.
Oh, till July, I thought.
We're just gonna give them some
You'll
time
have to
between
authority
April.
April 1st.
well, back to this transportation that needs to fill, we actually put a staff member up on D9 the whole entire time while we're waiting for that transportation to go out. So we lose a staff member from our population to sit on that one D and D9. and try to-
It's a crucial need.
All right, so let me recap here and as we wrap up for just a second. So our, all right, sorry. So our next 2 board meetings would be the 10th of February and the 17th of March. And that would, in those times, we would bring governance documents. I'll find a template to work from and send out to you. And then of these positions, this board is tasked with, let's find people that care about the facility, that have mental health, social services, and legal. And then there's another position for just anybody who, is interested. And let's bring those to.
Could be a second mental health or legal or whatever it is.
So
Doesn't
let's
matter.
bring those to the table for this board. So that's our homework. Okay. All right. Any other business to come before this board?
Mr. Chairman, just, I'd be remiss if I don't take the opportunity. It's been a long period of 6 or 7 months, but these 4 folks to my left, they have been the glue that has held this place together, and I am grateful for each and every one of them. I hope you are too.
We have done a tremendous job.
All right, without any other further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.